jobism. Yeah. Like from job. So it's like racism, but on a area of your job, your career, that actually we have created a society across the world. Doesn't matter from which country you come, mostly, where we ask this question so we can see whether we feel more valuable.
So my brain was going at 1,000 miles an hour. I'm used to a lot of activity. And then once I left the company and started to explore what I needed to be doing, the first 2 weeks I was going crazy. My body wasn't used to this. Wait a minute, you should be doing this. You should be doing. I'm like, no, I'm trying to understand what I need to be doing. I'm trying to go into myself and find out what is my path. Because I left without having a clear indication. Because I just, like I said before, I just jumped.
Really?
Remember?
Okay.
So I'm going to something that's completely unknown.
Welcome to the Alchemy of Success,
Your podcast for career, personal, and consciousness expansion. I'm Pedro.
And I'm Anna. And today's episode, it's all about disassociating of our self-worth from our job. And it's a topic that for both of us is a heart-driven topic. And it's a topic that it's really bringing us very deep emotional experiences. So stay tuned, watch it till the end. If you sometimes or maybe often experience this connection between how valuable you are for your society, for your family, for your environment, based on what you're doing or not doing. Pedro, what is your experience about self-worth and the position as you now change completely what you're doing? I think that it's in the eyes of some people will be a better step in, and for other maybe a worst. And how did you experience it internal, but also how was in the external world for you?
Yeah, I mean, there's quite a few stories. I'll tell you one. So, like I told everybody in the beginning, that I've been through the ups and downs. Okay. So to get to where I needed to be, or what my goal was in my career, I had to go through a couple of rough lessons. And one of the ones that really resonates right now in this topic is when you're working for a smaller company and there's not that many employees. At a younger stage of my career, I really took everything to heart. So when I take everything to heart, I give it my all. I do what I need to do. I really dive into it really hard, head fast. But the successes and the failures of the companies I was working with was a reflection of my worth. If they were successful, I felt successful. If they were struggling, I felt like I was struggling, because I thought I was treating them like my baby, my family, even though they're not. And thank goodness I had my wife, who I love dearly, and she kept reminding me. She kept telling me, baby, that company is not your company. That company is not your company. You cannot be killing yourself to the degree. You cannot take all these things in. That's not your company. You do the best that you can, but you leave that there. It's not your company. So I was so attached to my results. I was so attached to what we were doing that I kind of just lost myself in what I was doing. And I kind of lost a part of myself into it. So like I said before, when we were struggling, I took it hard. Oh my goodness. Even though I'm not in charge of the sales, I'm not in charge of all these different things. But you took it to that level, because I was so dedicated to it. So I went through that. I went through that cycle. And like I said, thank goodness my wife kept reminding me until it actually stuck. Until I actually realized, you're right. I'm me. I have all these abilities, all these gifts, but I'm simply just helping them. But I don't have to bring and attach it to that point where everything gets reflected back to me and how I feel. I should completely separate those two things. So that's sort of what I learned how to do, to the point where now I could give it my all in the sense of what I need to achieve, but I wasn't seeing the success or failure of an organization I'm working with as a reflection of me anymore. As long as I'm able to do what I need to do and scale and do whatever I need to do to be successful for the organization to be successful, but it doesn't really go back to me, it doesn't reflect on me. So I was the title before, and I started evolving not to being the title. The title was not as important anymore to me. It was not who I saw myself anymore. It was literally I'm just another person, a human being that's just trying to do the best that they can, and that's it. So whether I succeeded or I failed, I didn't take it to heart anymore. I kind of cut those ties, but I had to go through that learning process. And I'm telling you, it was a rough one. It was a rough one because you and I think, are built the same way, Anna. We're very driven. When we're given something, we want to make sure not only we achieve it, we exceed it. It's just, I think it's part of our DNA. A type A personality is what they call it. But in the end, we also have to scale back and realize what's really important. So all these episodes that we've been talking about, the ones in the past, about understanding what is your culture and what's important to you, it kind of started reflecting back on that. So that's why it was a pivotal moment in my career, but also a pivotal moment in my relationship with my wife, to know that, no, I disconnect from that. I don't take it home. It doesn't affect me anymore. I'm able to actually be me and be me all the time, at home and at work. So yeah, I went through all that, and it was a really great lesson, and I'm really grateful for the lessons. I truly am. But if you're the person also struggling the way I did, or maybe you're going through it now, yeah, it's tough because you're so taught. You are your title, you are this label, you are this, you are that, and there's expectations. But more importantly, you give your all for those people that give their absolute all. We have to make sure we understand that there is a separation. That's not you. That shouldn't be you. That's not what we are as human beings. I don't think, obviously I know so for myself, not for everybody else, but for myself. I can speak very proudly that I know that's the fact. That's not who we are. I know that very clearly now. But, it's understandable. We all go through that. I know, like I said, I went through that. So it's a personal subject of mine. And it was one of the biggest lessons I had to learn.
That's interesting, but I think it's not just your personal lesson, but my experience personally is that is a very society-driven way how we create it. And I'd like to share with you what I mean by that. My experience is, especially when you go to, actually doesn't matter to what kind of person where you are meeting at, whether it's a private party, whether it's like a business gathering, whether it's a workshop. My personal experience was, after the first question, what is your name? The second question is, what do you do for a living? What is your occupation? And when I was working in huge companies and I had this status, like you said, this label and so on, I was like always proud to share and tell it. But when the moment when I started realizing how conditioned society we are in the society about that is the moment when I dropped my job, starting doing my business. And I was, at the beginning. So for me, I didn't felt as successful I was in my career as an employer in this huge corporate, companies. So I felt this inner feeling when they asked me what I'm doing and what is my occupation. Didn't felt always good to answer it. And I started reflecting why. And I realized something, and you as listener or watching us on YouTube, doesn't matter which platform are you, maybe you can just try to fill in my next words and reflect whether it resonates with you. Very often when we ask this question, it's led about because we are very curious to understand what is the excitement of the other person, what drives this person, but it's more about a way for us to create a kind of hierarchy. And what I mean by this, I came across one term, and it's called jobism. It's something like a racism and
Jobism.
jobism. Yeah.
Yep.
Like from job. And so just ESM. So it's like racism, but on a area of your job, your career, that actually we have created a society across the world. Doesn't matter from which country you come, mostly, where we ask this question so we can see whether we feel more valuable in comparisons to the other person, depending what kind of job the other person is doing, or we can place ourselves a little lower. So I give you an example. For example, if somebody is working, in a nursery with children, and for me, that is one of the most responsible career, tasks somebody can have. But in a society, it's not 100% this career where you are bringing a huge monetary value. Okay. I'm talking about monetary value. So that means if you have somebody working in a nursery and you have somebody working as a CEO of a company and they talk to each other and they ask this question subconsciously, it's not conscious decision. It's this way of imprinting how society currently works. The CEO will feel automatically more valuable than the person working as a nurse and in the other side, so it's like, it's this unwritten hierarchy we're creating. And that is how I felt when I dropped my work. And when I started creating my business and I was encountering very successful business owner across the world, because you need to know that during my business time where I was building it, I really expanded my network across the world. And I saw that no matter where I'm going, this is like almost every time the second question coming, just observe it. And I realized, that is the reason why I feel doubt about my worth, how I was associating my worth as a person, how valuable I'm for the society, how valuable I'm for me, how valuable I'm for all the areas. I was connecting it to my work. And it felt really sad. And it felt so kind of imprinted on me, And that is the time where first I consciously decided to stop asking the question, what is your occupation? What are you doing for a living? But instead, I start asking, for example, what excites you in life? And believe me, most of the time the people are like, they're very really surprised about this question because they are used so much to be associated their value with their work that when suddenly I ask them what is their inspiration, what excites them in life, that could be something completely different than what they are doing, they wasn't able to answer in the first moment. And very often was very interesting question. I need to think about that, and I needed a lot of time to go through this process and to start really dissociating who I am as a person, my value, from what I'm doing. And still, every time when you got in conversation, you get exposed on this, And as I share in the first episode, the last year I stopped doing any business or career activities. And I found it very difficult because for the people to say, I'm staying at home, taking care of my well-being, taking care of the well-being of my child is not a value. It's not so high valued. I don't understand why. I can imagine, So that's why it's a topic that really personally hits me because I've been doing it my whole life. And you start from your school time. You have your grades. who is the best one. You know, I don't know how is Pedro your experience in the school, but in Bulgaria, you know, you had always these comparisons. Okay, who had the best grades, who is like the speaker of the class, and so on and so on. Like, you know, creating this word, self-worth, and entangle it with what are you doing? What are the achievements you're creating? Because actually the job is like a representation of achievements.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
And you know, how was your experience when you drop your job from high level, you know, C-level, you know, person
mm-hmm.
to someone first kind of, you know, to stop having this kind of, how to say, area of influence over thousands of people and billions of money, and getting into this self-employed area and now expanding it. How was for you?
I was a little scared. So the first 2 weeks after I left, I was going crazy because, so I don't know if people know, but we are completely autonomous beings because the subconscious is 95% of it, or, you know, whatever you want to read into it. So we basically do what we're accustomed to doing. So what I was accustomed to doing is, you know, a lot of meetings, doing this, managing this client, managing these contracts, managing all these different aspects of it. So my brain was going at 1,000 miles an hour. I'm used to a lot of activity. And then once I left the company and started to explore what I needed to be doing, the first 2 weeks I was going crazy. My body wasn't used to this. Wait a minute, you should be doing this. You should be doing. I'm like, no, I'm trying to understand what I need to be doing. I'm trying to go into myself and find out what is my path, because I left without having a clear indication, because I just, like I said before, I just jumped. Remember?
Okay.
So I'm going to something that's completely unknown.
Also, you didn't start it in a parallel, like maybe exploring and creating?
I couldn't, because
really?
No, because my job is demanding. So for me to actually open up a business and really give my best, I can't just do parallel and then work 80, 90 hours a week. That makes no sense to me, because then I'm going to violate the one thing that's really important to me, which is the time with my wife, with my partner. So that's to me
culture.
Back to the culture. That's important to me. So I was not going to do that. So, you know, you do what you need to do financially, reset yourself. And I had an idea what I was going to do as far as, you know, how to keep the bills going and all this stuff. But the first 2 weeks was absolutely crazy, because I was trying to adjust my pace, my old pace, to my new pace. So that was rough. I was driving my wife crazy. Yeah. Oh yeah. It was like, oh, what are you doing? You're like, let's go. My brain was like activated constantly, because I'm used to that. So I needed to learn how to calm down, relax, and start really taking in and start plotting what I wanted to do, what I wanted to continue investing in, and all these different things. So that's really how I had to really get myself down to that level. Because to your point, I had to disassociate what I used to be, what I used to do, and go, no, this is the real me. I need to have clear thought, relaxations. I need to be doing what I need to do, but do what I really love doing, the joy that really brings me. And that was back to helping people. It was back to helping people. So I kept recentering myself, recenter, the ups and downs, recenter. So yeah, it was rough for me in the beginning. The body was not used to that kind of stuff, but yeah, I had to disassociate from that stuff.
And you know, when you think about the people listening to this podcast now, you know, who are still living this kind of, I'll still say it's an imprinting, because in my current experience, or the way how I see it, that our self-worth is something we have it from the moment we are born. Because look at the baby. A baby doesn't need to do anything in order to be loved. A baby doesn't need to do anything in order to be taken care of. In most of the cases, I hope that every babies are taken care of, you know? So that means we are worthy just because we are existing, because otherwise we won't be here existing if we are not worthy, and if we don't have talents and uh, possibility or things that we bring to expand this world, to bring our values into this world, Um, and then something happens in our, way of how we grow and go through, kindergarten and school. And then especially when you go to the career part, that we start associating or like, entanglement these two completely separate things, our work, our achievement with what we did, so, and that is how we currently see ourselves. And you were able to overcome this for you. I share with you what was my experience, but do you have maybe some tangible, easy, I would say it's step by step, process how if I'm the one feeling very associated with this, that it can help me to see behind this association. So be able to start really disentangling the boat.
I mean, I don't know if I have a step by step, but I just told you how I did it, and hopefully it flows like that. But the first thing is know where is your home. And here's what I mean. I don't mean home like a physical place. Where is your home? Where do you feel comfort? Where do you feel love? Where is that place that you feel good? So the first thing is focus where that feeling is coming from. For me, it was my wife.
And if somebody doesn't
She's
have
my
a
north.
wife,
If they don't have a wife, it's something that you love, that you're passionate about. You could love even a pet, or you're passionate about something that maybe it's drawing, maybe it's art, it's something that you're passionate about. Where gives you that joy, that love? And it could be something like that, like a hobby or just a passion, right? So what is your home? So when you find your home, you focus on the energy. Okay, how do I cultivate that home? How do I cultivate that home? When you start thinking along those lines of home cultivation, meaning what am I building around it? You start getting your mind away from, oh, I need to do this for work. I need to do that for work. Oh, I am this at work. I'm this. No, 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 no. That becomes less and less important as you go through the process, because you're now really more focused on focusing where the true joy is, focusing how I'm going to build that joy and expand it. And then consistency, put it into place. Put it into place. Same thing, same thing that we were talking about at culture is understanding and going through that process. For me, that's what I did. Is home was my wife. Cultivating, okay, how do I spend time together? How can we do stuff together? Building this company, doing the social media. She was helping out with the social media. How do we build something beautiful together? Right? That's cultivating it. Right. And then consistency. We keep doing it, forging ahead, making sure that we're on top of it and continue to go down that path that we're being led to. So for somebody that's out there that's trying to step away from that strong attachment to their title, strong attachment to their job, thinking their job is everything, I guarantee you, if you close your eyes, give yourself a peace of mind for 10 minutes, as soon as you wake up, and ask, what is it that brings me joy? And do it with your eyes closed. What is it that brings me joy? You will feel it, or you might get an answer. It might just pop into your head. Then you have begun your journey to start separating yourself from that identity. But you need to give yourself the first step, which is find the balance of silence. Find the balance of silence somewhere in your life, because within silence, you're able to understand the vastness of the self, the vastness of your knowledge of who you really are and how your heart speaks through you and how your mind is connecting to you. So start with a space and time of just finding that time for yourself of silence. And like I said, and I'm a firm believer, ask the right question.
Oh yeah.
And trust me, you will get the right answer. So that's, I mean, it's not a step by step, but hopefully it's some sort of thing that they could look into or play around with. But that's what I do that for practice. Even now, as I'm speaking to you right now, as of today, you always have rough days. They don't go away, but how do you manage those rough days? They become better. They're easier because you no longer have that strong identity to this, and that. No, I know who I am now. I know what brings me joy. And that pushes me forward. That motivates me. So that will get you from your rough patches and go you back to your resonance or whatever you need to be. And if you're at work and you're going, okay, Pedro, that's very nice, but I'm not going to leave my job and do this, then fine. You don't need to leave your job. But I do ask you, start finding your joy wherever that is, whoever that is, wherever that is. Start finding your joy and then see how that joy could be brought to work. Meaning, fall in love with the idea of what makes you happy. Fall in love with the actions that you can take to cultivate that happiness, that joy, that peace. And then as hopefully you start seeing yourself differently at home, you start taking it to work, hopefully things won't bother you as much. Hopefully you start saying, okay, I'm not a title. Okay, I'm getting paid for this role, but that's not who I am. And I know who I am right now. I'm starting to find out who I am. So you will start just being successful in life, whatever that means to you, just being more joyful. That's, to me, it's just being more joyful. Is find that. So you don't have to leave your job to do that. But it starts with the self. It starts in here.
I think that is what you pointed out, because you say find your home, and my way was actually to go within.
Mm-hmm.
So it was more about, of course, to make myself clear how much I already grow, how much I expanded throughout these years, how much I have experience. And with the experience, I don't mean just the achievements, but I mean also the lows. I mean the failure and all these moments where actually we don't really want to remember. But when I started, looking within, and I started consciously taking time for myself, really for me, myself, and I. So not with Pedro, for Pedro was with his wife connecting. For me was really me, myself, and I, to really take this time and to really feel in my body and also observe what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling, like you said, what is bringing me joy? What is this excitement? That is what gives me the excitement to be alive, no matter where you are. And I know that sometimes when I get asked, okay, what are you doing for living, or what is your occupation? I still had sometimes this nudge. For example, before I started relaunching, my woman community for entrepreneur and leaders. I know this time where I wasn't doing anything and I get asked about that. I still felt this nudge, but then just to observe it, just observe it. That's, the subconscious mind. But when you start observing it, that means I go in my conscious mind. So I'm able to observe it. Take a breath in, out, and just say, hey, currently I'm focusing on myself and my well-being and on my family, because that's my current priority. And that was my current priority. Mm-hmm. So and that is how I did it. Looking inside and deciding and defining what is my evolved version. And what I mean with evolved version is who truly, authentically I am. And everything what doesn't belong to me, just to let go. And from this version of myself, and we were talking about that at the beginning in the first episode, is to really define what is my blueprint of success. So what are the areas of my lives? How do I want to experience them? And what are the most important, what are the priorities in the areas? For example, for you, Pedro, is your time with your wife. It's like your holy grail, to say it this way. And for me, I identify my holy grail was like me and my child, and creating this beautiful, nurturing connection.
There you go.
And exactly.
Family.
Find a home. Exactly. But first I needed to start with me, and completely disturbing the person I thought I am, this career woman, higher, further, faster, to really like disrupting, better say, really like shaking myself and shaking all the beliefs about me that was imprinted. So to tap into this authentic version and then start prioritizing it. And then I don't have an issue to say, hey, currently focusing on my personal expansion, on becoming a better version of myself, really integrating these character traits that I want to bring more in the world, and spending time with my child, and then I dissociated from my business, my money, my expertise. Not that I don't love it, not that I don't have it. Pedro also have it, and we are proud of it. So very important topic to disassociate my self-worth from the work. Doesn't mean that I'm not proud of what I have achieved. Doesn't mean that I don't feel proud of, the different, career levels I got or titles or, experience it. It's completely different. But to be proud and to really know your self-worth are two different topics. We tend to really connect this both, but it's not about that. And I can tell you something. My experience was when I started really realizing my self-worth, I actually started being more valued in the area when I work than before. So when you start to disassociate yourself, your worth from the job, believe me, it will happen actually exactly the opposite. That when you start really knowing how worthy you are, you're going to start thriving more in your job. Even if you, keep on doing the same job. It's paradox, but it's just so mind blowing when you experience this and you started being more, valued in your relationship, valued in your friendship, in every areas. When you start really getting this connection cut.
Yeah. And just to be clear, just to make sure the audience understands, is I started that process while I was still working. So it's meaning over the last couple of jobs, especially in the last one, I was never more empowered in my entire career than that last role. Because in that last role, I went with so much confidence because I knew what's important to me. It was such a freeing way of being, which is why when my wife asked me, are you happy at work? I was like, yeah, I'm happy. I love my job. It was fantastic company, job, support. I mean, everybody there was amazing. Couldn't say better things about people, coworkers and everybody else. But because I also realized, because I was so free, I didn't care what happens. I didn't care if so-and-so this, or, no, I know how good I am. I know what I can deliver, and I know what's important to me. So everything will take care of itself, because I was that confident, that empowered of knowing who the hell I am and what's really important. And I knew it wasn't that. At the end of the day, I already knew at that stage in my career, I already knew what was really important, which is why I believe now, as I'm talking to you, it was easier to go and jump completely, because it was just like a confirmation. Yeah, you're so at peace in that sense. Now you just need to find your joy. My home is my wife. And the reason I say my home is my wife is because I sacrificed a lot of time away from my wife in my career. I sacrificed a lot of time, and, that's why it's important. And I realized as I got older that you have to focus on the people that you love, because jobs come and go. They really do. Titles come and go. Money up and down. But the people that you're surrounded with, that you really love and they love you, that's what matters in the end. Even if it's a pet, For those that are pet lovers. No, even for those, I'm saying, no, I'm not. I'm just saying, even for those, because people are going to say, oh, but I don't have a spouse, I don't have a partner, but it doesn't matter.
And even if it's about you,
even if it's about you,
very
100%.
important when it's about you.
Excellent point.
And please, I want just to correct you. You're not getting older. You're getting wiser. Let me be here more clear.
Thank you. I'll take that compliment.
If you ask me, I feel way younger than 20 years ago.
Yes.
So
I agree. I agree.
We totally just get wiser.
Yeah. Through the experience, right, becomes wisdom. So,
and the wisdom
knowledge
makes
converts
us
in wisdom.
way younger.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. It's just reflecting. What's inside is outside, as above, so below. But yeah, especially when it's about you. Because if we start putting ourselves on first place, our well-being,
100%.
the being of the feeling well of our own being. Everything around us just gets way more aligned, way more clear, way more beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Joyful. Joy.
Absolutely.
It's about joy. It's about excitement. It's about this juicy feeling in life. Even when you have, and we're gonna tell you something, it's not that we don't have rough moments or experiences, but even there to find the juiciness and the joy.
Absolutely. Some of the best lessons in my life have been riddled with tough things, tough events. And right now I'm telling you, and I'm honest when I'm telling you, I have been blessed to have gone through that because it made me stronger. It made me, faster. It made me smarter and wiser, as you would say. So I am truly, truly grateful for those experiences that we had.
And your worth. You know what
absolutely.
I mean?
Absolutely.
You don't need me or anybody else to confirm how valuable you are.
Mm-hmm.
And that makes us, everyone, you included, so everyone, when we embody this one, it makes us just unstoppable.
It's true. And that's why we forget who we really are at the end of the day. Now, I'm not going to go into the spiritual topics, but I'm simply going to tell you, remember who you really are. So if you feel off balance, if you don't feel right, then recheck yourself, go back to yourself and see exactly where you're being guided to, where you need to be focusing on. So hopefully that happens for you. Whoever's listening to this.
If you listen to us, there is some wisdom you are looking for, and hopefully you find it in the previous or upcoming episodes. And of course, as always, you can put in the comments, if you're watching on YouTube, what kind of topics are of interest for you, or where you feel maybe sometimes struggle, so we can give you some point of view. It's a point of view. It's personal experiences.
Mm-hmm.
But believe me, sometimes this personal experience for me personally, when I was listening to some of the podcasts I follow, was the biggest aha moments, because sometimes we're so blind. And when you hear it, what you are feeling coming from outside, you're like, that's why. And maybe I'm going to give you a challenge. What about you decide this upcoming week, when you encounter somebody new, instead of asking the person what is his or her occupation, ask them what are the things that they're inspired to do. What are their, what makes them excited in life? And just watch, how they're going to react. Drop it in the comments. I really want to hear what was your experience, and listen to their answer, because I can tell you, and that is one of my tips. If you want to network with people, and if you want to win people very, very quickly in your network and to trust you, is when you truly are interested in the person not in their occupation, not in their expertise, not in their achievements, but truly in that what excites the person, you're going to win this person so quickly in your network, and you're going to create such a trustful relationship. Doesn't matter on which hierarchy level, I'm saying this in the quotes, this person is, whether he or she is a president or staying at home, dad or mom, doesn't matter. Believe me, it opens doors like magic. Personal experience. That's a small tip from my side.
Mm.
Do you have to say something as final words?
No, I mean, basically everything we've said is just go back and remember who you really are. It's not your label. It's not the label. Don't ever forget that.
Then see you next week.
Yes.
Wednesday, same time, same channel, same beautiful people with inspiring topics.
Thanks for watching. Click on one of the videos below and don't forget to like and subscribe.